This is the new Lexus GX550 Overtrail Plus. For 2025, it gets a big new feature that might make all the difference. So what is it and how does it affect its on and off-road performance? Well, we're going to dive into the details and then put it to the test. Right now on Driving Sports TV. This episode of Driving Sports TV is brought to you by OnX Offroad. Click the link below to save 20% off your new membership using the code DSTV. It is pretty rare for a car maker to make a significant change to a vehicle after only 1 year of production, especially one that's already selling out at the dealership. But for 2025, Lexus has decided to make a significant change to the GX550 Overtrail from the factory. It now sits at 9.84 inches of ground clearance. That is a full inch above its Toyota Land Cruiser counterpart. So now it's time for a second look at the Lexus GX550, what I consider to be the best luxury midsize SUV you can buy today. The model we're testing today is the Overtrail Plus, which is the top trim package. This adds a kick sensor to the rear door, front massaging seats, and a heated second row over the standard Overtrail. Price as you see it here, with a heads-up display, premium sound, premium paint, traffic jam assist, rock rails, roof rack, and some other accessories. $87,760 US, including destination. The GX550 is powered by a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, making a peak 349 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. This is connected to a standard 10-speed automatic transmission. Power goes to all four wheels with a full-time four-wheel drive system that features a Torsen limited-slip center-locking differential. EPA rates economy at 15 miles to the gallon in town and 21 on the highway. 0 to 60 is rated at 6.5 seconds with a limited top speed of 109 miles per hour. The GX550 is a body-on-frame SUV built with Land Cruiser DNA, so it not only looks great, it should be pretty durable as well. But it's also those good looks that might limit its off-road capabilities, as it has a 28-degree approach angle and 24-degree departure. The US spec Land Cruiser boasts a 32-degree approach angle, which helps it scale larger objects. Towing capacity of the GX is impressive, 9,063 pounds in the Overtrail Plus trim. That is a lot of weight with only a 112.2-inch wheelbase. But it does have brake connections and a controller in the cab as standard equipment. Our tester here is optioned with the platform up on top. It connects to the standard roof rails. To get up to the platform, you don't actually want to use the rock rail. That's not a sufficient step. I mean, you can use it. It's not going to hurt it. It's just not big enough for a step. They do give some tread, though, here in the corners, so you can climb up. These do have what appear to be standard T-slots, so you should be able to add accessories from pretty much any manufacturer. The wheel tire package here actually is pretty decent. These are Toyo Open Country AT3s in a 265/70 R18 fitment. And these are actually 3-peak rated for deep snow, which I'm really happy to see. Now, it's not hard to find similarities between this and the Land Cruiser that it's based on. Of course, it is based on the Global Prado 250, which is the slightly smaller, lighter duty Land Cruiser. And we own one for the channel. We have a first edition. In fact, our first edition came with the exact same rock rail, which is neat. We have the same mirrors. We have a platform on ours, but it is a slightly different design. This is also about the same size as the Land Cruiser. It's just slightly longer, and I think a lot of that has to do with the bumper design back there. Also, like the Land Cruiser, this has a pop-up rear glass. Now, if you want to compare this to, say, the 4Runner has a roll-down rear window, and I actually prefer this setup. If you want to know why, go watch our Land Cruiser versus 4Runner TRD Pro, because we talk about that pretty extensively in that video. Now, because this is an Overtrail Plus, it has the foot wave motion. Hey! And in the back here, you get a larger space because, of course, this isn't a hybrid like the Land Cruiser, so you get the full trunk space available for gear, which is fantastic. You do get a full-size spare underneath, which is nice. Be careful if you gesture, though, because it will close the lid on you. That's why I don't like kick sensors on off-road vehicles. Can also use the button there, of course. Right, so where was I? We do get a all-weather mat here, which is fantastic. Right here we do get a 400-watt power socket. That is a major advantage in the Land Cruiser, is that it has 2,400 watts, because of course it's powered by that hybrid powertrain. But one thing the Land Cruiser doesn't have is what we got right here, a compressor built in. That is fantastic. Why would you want a compressor? Well, obviously that's for off-roading. You're going to air your tires down for better grip. And then when you're done, you can air back up without having to fiddle with battery connections. Of course, with a compressor kit, you do need to have accessories, and they include this in this really nice little bag here. We get a inflation hose, and then we also get some tools, as well as some extra bits. You can even inflate beach balls. They have a beach ball inflator. Nice. What's in that door? Oh, it's a little canister jack. Nice. Because you can also option other trims of the GX as a 3-row, these are tumble forward second row seats, which means they can go all the way like that, but it is not really designed to drive like this because there's nothing keeping them in place. It's going to be bounce against the driver's seat if you drive like that. Also, not entirely flat in any position because you actually have a dip down here. So you're not going to be sleeping in the back of this without some significant work. So one area where they did go kind of cheap is on the back gate here. On my Land Cruiser First Edition, I have 2 lights and you can option them on lower trims. This one doesn't have that, though it does have extra speakers, which I guess is nice. But still, there's like no workplace light back here. That's kind of odd. There's only one dome light up in the middle. Not adequate. Second row here feels very much like my Land Cruiser. I have headroom, I have legroom. These seats are where I would be seated if I were driving. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I fit fine. Here I get a full down armrest with integrated cup holders, and down here you actually get heated seats in the second row, which is a nice touch. Also get USB-C sockets and vents, but no actual climate control back here. So it's only a 2-zone. My Land Cruiser has a 3rd zone back here. But I do get window screens. Okay. So up front here, it's very similar to what's in my Land Cruiser. We get a digital gauge cluster, but with Lexus graphics. And we also have what is technically a larger center screen display. However, I want to point out that the only usable section for maps and whatnot is about the same size as what you get on the Land Cruiser. The rest of it is used for aircon, and it is cool. I admit, I like these little floating dials to set the temperature, and then here I can set both warming and cooling on the seats as well as on the steering wheel. And everything is just wrapped with really nice leather. The leather here actually reminds me of what's, again, on my Land Cruiser. There's going to be a lot of that in this video, so just get used to it. Now, to turn on the seat massagers, because this does have seat massagers, you got to dive into the menu, which is kind of annoying. Click car, seat controls, massage, pick the seat, and then turn it on and then pick your setting. That is too many clicks. Where's my little button to turn on my seat massage units? That's what everybody else does, and it works. This, it's just a mess. But we do get some good features in this system. It does come with maps and navigation, phone integration. We do have wireless support for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is great. I do get a charging pad for the device right down there, which is nice. And then once I'm connected, I can actually jump into OnX Offroad, which also happens to be a sponsor of this video. We love OnX Offroad for planning our off-road adventures. Which trails to drive? How hard are they? Are they even open? OnX Offroad provides all that information in addition to tools to help plan and organize your next adventure. Have you watched one of our mini road trip videos? We use OnX Offroad to plan and navigate every adventure. And right now you can get 20% off your premium or elite membership to OnX Offroad with the code DSTV. That's of course an abbreviation for Driving Sports TV. Look for the link in the video description below or click this QR code. Now down in the section here, this is a slightly different design than what's in the Land Cruiser, but it's all vaguely in the same place. We get the mode select dial, which also becomes a multi-terrain select or crawl control dial, depending on your settings. And here I can lock my center torsion diff or lock the rear diff. Plus I have high and low transfer case positions. Nice. This steering wheel feels fantastic. I get a heads-up display. Now, of course, this does have Lexus Safety Sense 3.0, which is the latest version of their safety system. It has collision mitigation with pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, and of course, we also get a full surround view camera system, as well as adaptive cruise control. Oh, and don't forget, in the middle here, we get a cool box, which is specifically not for meat or fish. They tell you so right there. I actually do have one of these in my Land Cruiser as well. Didn't think I would use it that much. Use it all the time. It's fantastic. The mirror here does not have a camera view, which frankly, I'm kind of insulted at $90,000 or close there too. It should have that. Also, the sunroof is rather small. That's just a thing with these Land Cruiser based vehicles. They don't get panorama roofs. Right, so we're going to take this out on the road. We're going to see how it drives. Now, this is, of course, equipped with the EKDSS suspension system, which should automatically disconnect the front and rear sway bars when we take it off-road a little bit later. But first, let's see how it behaves on the street. Well, the sun finally came out. Let's take this for a drive. Immediately, I feel the height. An extra inch of ride height doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're already up pretty high, it's kind of a towering feeling while driving. A little teeter-tottery, perhaps. Let's feel this twin turbo 6. Punch it. Woo! Sounds great on the inside, that's for sure. Now, we do have lots of different drive modes here, and they do affect multiple systems in the vehicle. And I think the most important change is actually the dampers. This has adjustable dampers on all four corners. So, of course, yeah, you can tighten it up in sport, or you can make it a little bit more comfortable in comfort, which makes sense. But we're going to go ahead and dial this all the way to Sport Plus, and let's try a 0 to 60 to see just how quick this is. Now, recently we tested my Land Cruiser as well as the new 4Runner, and we were looking at just over 8 seconds with the Land Cruiser, about mid 7 seconds with the new 4Runner with the iForce Max powertrain. That was a TRD Pro. Now let's see what the GX550 does in the exact same location and the exact same approach to the 0 to 60. Gonna stop. 3, 2, 1, punch it. And 60. I called it a little late, but we did have a GPS timer, and we got 6.58 seconds. This one is noticeably quicker than either of those other two options. And you would kind of expect that. I mean, it's Lexus. This is very expensive. At the very least, you expect it to also be faster. Now, this is equipped with the fancy EKDSS suspension. That is the electronic kinetic dynamic suspension system. What EKDSS does is it keeps the anti-sway bars in the front and the back connected while I'm driving on the road. The moment that it starts to feel that there's articulation involved, it'll disconnect that sway bar. It's a very cool system. I find it interesting that they decided to lift the GX an inch and not the Toyota Land Cruiser an inch. You see, this has a not so great for off-roading front end. The approach angle previously was 26 degrees, which is not very good. The upper trim Land Cruisers have a 32-degree approach angle, which is kind of more where you want to be. And that's even with just slightly over 8 inches of ground clearance. This one, they raised it an inch, and it still only has a 28-degree approach angle. So it's still hampered by that approach angle. And also, it should affect economy. Typically, when you lift a vehicle, economy goes down. And this already was not a very economical vehicle. So if you're looking for economy, the 2025 GX550 simply is not the vehicle you want to buy. Go get a Grand Highlander or something. Now, the all-wheel drive in this, of course, is based on a torsion center diff, and it does have a rear bias in the front-rear ratio. It gives you basically effectively a 60% of torque to the rear just while driving around. Of course, that's constantly variable, so that is greatly oversimplifying things, but it gives you the general gist. So what you end up with is actually full-time, four-wheel drive that drives really, well. Like you corner this through the throttle, you add that punch, and it really feels like it's carving through the corners, in spite of the suspension, which generally feels a little on the floaty side, which is interesting. It's like corner carving and floaty. So between this and the Land Cruiser, I hate to say it, but I think I actually prefer the slightly lower ride height of the Land Cruiser on pavement. I just feel really tall here, kind of awkwardly tall. Now, granted, I would get used to it if I drove this. I'm sure I would. It would be fine. Now, this is equipped with all of Lexus's latest active safety stuff. We got collision mitigation, blind spot warning. We also have adaptive cruise control with what they call traffic jam assist, which is a hands-off autopilot system, which is cool, but it only works on speeds under 25. I said the name and it popped up its thing. But it only works at speeds under 25 miles per hour. So I can't really demo that today because there's no traffic here. So let's go ahead and set adaptive cruise on. And now you can see that it is keeping us well centered in the road. No big deal. Super easy. Right. We do get paddle shifters here, which lets us control that 10-speed automatic transmission. And with that, we're going to end the street drive portion of this because I know what you guys want to see. You want to see how this deals with our off-road test course. So now we're going to take it into the Peninsula Proving Grounds and see just how capable this new GX550 is. Right, well, let's start with a run over a rough road. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch the suspension over to comfort. Give me the smoothest ride over this rough stuff. Let's see how it does. Nice. And boom, there we go. Come on. So it does a good job of smoothing out that initial impact. I would say that's actually, yeah, that's pretty good. Now let's see what a yump will do for it. Turn around here, wait for that dust to clear. Yeesh, dusty day. So here I'm just gonna basically hit it at 30 miles an hour and let's see how the suspension reacts. We're at 30, go over the yump and whoop. Oh, ooh, actually pretty nice impact. I was braced for a hit there, but it did a really good job when that suspension went full in, smoothing out the landing. Nice job, Lexus. Okay, that was fun, but now it's time to test the real off-road capabilities of the new GX550 Overtrail Plus. Clean that windshield first. Everything getting dusty out there. So of course this does have full-time four-wheel drive, but when you're going off-road, you done? You want to lock the center diff. That way it'll basically lock power 50-50. It's an oversimplification, work with me here. And then for the rest of the toolbox, to get into there, we also need to go into 4 low. Now what that'll do is it'll switch into the low range gear set, which will make crawling easier, but also more important, Toyota/Lexus doesn't give you access to things like rear locker unless you are in 4 low. So got to switch to neutral, go back into drive. Now we have a trail cam up front and center, which is cool. And I can lock and unlock my rear locker if I want to. Now, another cool feature that we have here is multi-terrain select, which is like a virtual locker system. It is the descendant of the original A-Track, which was the advanced traction system on older Toyotas. With MTS, it'll use wheel braking to shift power around, and it's not just software. They actually have special brake boosters in here to make that system effective. And then once we're in MTS, we can pick rock, mud, sand, or auto. That will allow for certain degrees of wheel spin as we're going through terrain. I'm just going to keep it in auto for right now, put it into drive. Let's do it. Now this is our logging trail. This is for more capable vehicles. So I have recently brought both my Land Cruiser First Edition as well as the new 4Runner TRD Pro through this same course. So if you want to see how they did, you can pull up that video in our history up on YouTube. So this first little feature we have is a ditch. It's quite a drop, and we probably will use the rock rail on the inside here, and it will rub over a big root from a tree. I can watch my wheels right here in the gate, which is cool. Try not to scratch anything. This vehicle has 200 miles on it. Practically new. Now with a 28-degree approach angle, I'm expecting we'll rub a little bit on the front. Well, that's not too bad. And then on the back, we'll definitely hit the tow hitch. There's the tow hitch. It's always the tow hitch. Actually, that was pretty bad. That was a lot of dragging. Let's pause here and take a quick look at how much that rubbed. I think it was a lot. Ooh, yeah, scooped it right up. So it wasn't just, that actually wasn't the tow hitch, that was the spare tire that was dragging. Huh, it's hanging pretty low. Okay, I haven't had any traction issues yet, but those are sure to come. We're now gonna have a brake over here as we do a side tilt. Looks like there's about a 25-degree angle there. And then we have a transition, and I'm actually going to keep it just in MTS to see what the traction control systems can do. Add a little throttle, gives us the bump we need. Come on. There we go, and now we are through. See if I can avoid scratching anything here. Gonna keep it cranked, move around the bend there. No problem. Ha! Now on to the next challenge. Right over here. Now we're gonna see how good the articulation is on this. Now, obviously, an extra inch of ground clearance is gonna be terribly helpful in conditions like this. Now, I do just have the middle torsion center diff locked. I have not locked that rear diff, and we're just going to use MTS to crawl up here. Clear that nose. Now, at this point, EKDSS automatically disconnects that front and rear sway bar to give us more articulation than you would otherwise get. Very cool. And when your wheels touch the ground, systems like MTS really come into their own because you don't need a lot of traction, you just need a little bit to get through difficult objects. Now we're going to go over the crest here and down the hill, and that'll really test the brake over. Listen for any grinding on those rock rails. Ooh, none. Now how about the tire in the back? None. Excellent. But we're not done yet. We got one more test to do here. So the last feature that I want to play with here in this review is the crawl control system, and it is standard on the Overtrail and Overtrail Plus versions of this 2025 GX550. So to get there, all I have to do is, gotta put it into drive, hit the crawl control button, and then I can use the mode dial to pick my speed. And it starts very, very slow. Actually, we'll start at the slowest setting here and just let it move forward. Now what it's doing is it's using wheel braking individually in conjunction with MTS, and then on top of that, it's adding power to the equation. Now where the new Land Cruiser and 4Runner have hybrid powertrain, at least in the off-road trims for the 4Runner, this one is not hybrid. It is a twin turbo 6. So we don't get that electric crawl function, but as you can tell, it still is very quiet. The old version of this sounded like throwing pennies into a can and shaking it up. This one, it is so much smoother and so much quieter. And though we don't have a sand pit to show it off, this can actually climb out of sand when you're buried up to your axles, which is just a remarkable feat. This is the challenging section where we're actually going to start climbing. We have loose gravel on the right and rocks on the left, and watch as the power just kind of goes down. If it starts slipping, it grabs itself, sends power to the other wheels, and then moves us ahead. And of course, because we have all that ground clearance, we don't hit anything. Even though we have under body armor, we just didn't need it today. Wait a second for the back of the wheels to get over the log, and there we go. This really is, I think, one of the best crawl control style features you can get. It just works remarkably good. So the 2025 GX550 Overtrail Plus, how is it? Well, I think if you're looking for a luxury yet highly capable off-roader, I don't think you can do any better than this. It's super comfortable, it's very quiet. The tech is where you expect it to be. I think they could improve the menu structure, but it offers the features that most people want. Also, the off-road tools here are almost second to none. The only thing we're really lacking here is a front locker. For that, you have to move up to the LX Overtrail, and that costs over $115,000. It's a lot of money. I mean, this is already a lot of money. That, whew, that is a lot of money. So, but I think this offers enough capability for 99% of the people and for 99% of what they will reasonably be doing with a Lexus. Now, as for me personally, between this and my Land Cruiser First Edition, I prefer the First Edition. I like the fact that I have lighting in my gate area. I actually like the little digital mirror for when things are loaded up, I can see out the back. And the fact that it doesn't have that extra inch of ground clearance, which is, I find weird for me to say, but I don't particularly care for this on the road with that extra inch of ground clearance. I think that it was more fun to drive in the 2024 model, which I kind of am shocked to hear myself say. And for that reason alone, I think I prefer actually the Land Cruiser on the street now too. So weird. Anyway, what do you think? Post a comment below. Would you pick this? Would you pick the Land Cruiser? Would you pick the new 4Runner? Or would you pick something totally different? For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at the new GX550 Overtrail Plus. Please hit subscribe, share our videos, give us a like, and we'll see you again right here on the next video.